Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Instagram. Happy Coffee Talk Tuesday. Hope everyone is doing well. There we go. Their Facebook is up. Using Facebook's inherent system now instead of BeLive, so getting used to it. But good morning, hello, happy Coffee Talk Tuesday to all of my favorite coffee lovers and social media lovers out there. Glad to have you. Today, I am talking about podcasts and how you can use them on Facebook. So very interesting. If you have a podcast previously, or if you are hopping on the trend with all of these social audio apps, a lot of them allow you to save and download. So could be a really great way to reach new audiences, pre-existing audiences, and all that fun stuff. So when you pop in, make sure that you say hello below in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I always like to see where everybody is. But I'm excited to talk about this today because I think it's something that's important, especially for those people who have a podcast, are thinking about starting a podcast, or started one during the last year and a half, where we saw a very large increase of podcast listening, people listening to podcasts, right? I always want to say listenership, like viewership, listenership. I don't know, you get it. But also really great for people who want to get their message out there, but aren't necessarily comfortable being in front of the camera yet. Audio is a great way to start with that. So today we are talking about Facebook giving a new option to listen to podcasts. So the one thing that I do want to bring up is it is not a way to record a podcast. So I want to make sure that that's very clear. You're still going to need your traditional ways of recording podcasts, and you're still going to need an RSS feed to upload it to. But it's a great distribution channel for podcasts. So something to know, just because I brought up the RSS feed, it is right now only available for people who have public RSS feeds and not private RSS feeds. So make sure that if you are struggling with that you go back and you double check and make sure that you have a public RSS feed. Annie is here from PA, but lovely. Thank you for tuning in, and you can always catch it on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and our Instagram later on. So go ahead and make sure that you tune in to that. And I see Fred's here. Howdy, Fred from Texas coming in. Love to see it. So like I said, for those of you who are just jumping in, we are talking about the ability to put your podcast on Facebook. So not to record your podcast, but for you to upload your public RSS feed to Facebook. Now, why is this important, or why is this beneficial, we'll say, right? Well, first off, we can talk about the metaverse ad nauseum. Obviously, Zuckerberg is really trying to pull everybody into Facebook for all things that they need, right? Everything digital that they want and they need, they are wanting people to do it there. So the look of this, and if anybody's interested in the blog post, you can go on Meta for Creators, which is obviously Facebook is now called Meta, the company. So you can go Meta for Creators. It is a blog post, or you can feel free to DM me. I'm happy to shoot the link over to you if you want to learn more on how to do this. But I'll give you just a brief overview and just talk about why it's important and why I think that it's something that can be utilized by a lot of people. So if you think about it, being omni-channel is very important, right? Being on multiple platforms in multiple different ways. Some people have private Facebook groups where they will write long kind of blog-esque posts. You have Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, right? You have all of these different options to touch base, but you also build different communities on different platforms. So if you have a podcast community, this actually allows you to bring your podcast to your pre-existing community that you've already built up on Facebook. We can hit a little bit of friction sometimes trying to drive people to other platforms to listen to our podcast, but now they could do it right on Facebook, and it is very easy. It's a very similar look as to if you were to listen to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, where you put an image on top and it's just a square image, and then it'll play your audio. So the great thing about like that, which I said earlier, is if you're not comfortable getting in front of the camera yet, but you know that you have a voice and a message that need to be heard, podcasts are a great way to do it. So that's one thing. The other thing is that it allows you, unlike, let's say, Spotify or Apple, where people can leave reviews, this actually allows people to engage with you. So you can, people can comment on it. They can have reactions to the podcast as well as to comments. So this feature is kind of what's going to set it apart from these other streaming options. And I'm not saying that you should steer away from the streaming options that you use as of right now, but this is something that could really be utilized as a community building tool, right? So if you upload your public RSS feed to Facebook, you're then going to allow your community that you've built on Facebook to respond back to what it is that you're talking about, your subject matter, whatever it may be. And this will allow you to, one, engage back with your following or people that share it out or tag somebody in it. Maybe you can get it, great way for organic growth. So not only does it allow you to engage back with your audience, but it also allows you to kind of take the temperature of where your audience is and what they're looking for. So if you're talking about a topic that is relevant to your brand, service, business, whatever it may be, you may find that there's a reoccurring question coming up throughout the comments, or there's a certain type of dialogue that's happening in the comments. And this is going to allow you to kind of do like a test. I'm spacing on the word that I'm looking for, like a peer group review. But it's kind of a litmus test of where exactly your audience is. So you can hit them with the information that they need. Maybe they need an extra push to buy. Maybe they just really need to know what is going on and what you're doing. So it's a really great way to kind of gauge your audience and be able to continue to build that community out without having to drive them to other platforms. So there's no set requirements. This is not like the swipe up feature where you have to have 10,000 followers or anything like that. You really just have to you have to have a business page or a creator's page, and you have to have at least one admin, and both the page and the admin have to be within good standing with Facebook, meaning like that you haven't violated any of the privacy agreements or the terms and conditions within the last, let's say, like 6 months. It doesn't necessarily say how long that kind of bumps off, but I'm going to say probably about 6 months is a good range. So one thing that I do want to say is a quote from Facebook. It says, add your podcast to Facebook to seamlessly distribute your episodes to listeners and then turn them into fans through direct connections. With podcasts on Facebook, you can easily reach, develop, and retain an audience with your podcast content, all within one app. So similar to, like I was saying, they're really driving that sense of community and the option to connect with people using your voice and your message. So that part, I think the fact that people can actually comment and have a conversation on your podcast, one, is obviously going to help with the reach. And two is just going to be able to continue to drive that sense of community. And then if you see somebody who's asking a certain question, let's say maybe you have a freebie, maybe you have a sign up, maybe you have a newsletter, you can then slide into their DMs and connect with them on that. So I think this is going to be super great for people who are looking to organically grow their audience. One, people who maybe are not comfortable getting in front of the camera just yet, but do want to get their voice out there. And also people who have a podcast and they just want to bring people together and reach more people. So this is how you do it. I'll give a quick overview. And like I said, if anybody is interested, hi, Marcus Black is here. Follow him, MBlack Speaks, because he's amazing in everything and anything that he does. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough on how to add your podcast to your Facebook page. But like I said, anyone who's interested in doing this or learning more or reading more about it, feel free to DM me and I'm happy to send over Meta's official blog post on it. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to select your page and access podcast from the page settings. Now, for those of you who have noticed that work closely with Facebook, there's two different views, they call them now. There's the classic view, which is the view that the type of menu settings that we've been looking at for years and years and years. And then they have the new pages experience is what they're calling it. Either way, it's either going to be in settings or it's going to be in manage your page. So those are two things, depending on what view you have, you can check that out. So you're going to go to either settings or manage your page. Either view, you're still going to see podcasts. So you're going to click on podcasts. And then once you do that, you're going to click the add podcast button. From there, you can enter your public RSS feed and click add. Like I said before, it will not work with private RSS feeds. This is public only. So public RSS feeds, and then click add. So one thing that I do want to note that it does clearly state that Facebook does not own any of your content. This is solely just a distribution channel. So I know that there are some people that maybe would be a little bit concerned about content that they're putting out there. They do not claim ownership. Oh, sorry. They do not claim ownership over your podcast. They will send you an authentication code in order to confirm that that is the ownership of your podcast. But that is something that if you are interested in, you can go ahead and DM me and I will send you the directions on how to do that and walk you through that process. So super, super exciting, interesting. Let me know below if you have a podcast, if you are interested in using Facebook as a distribution channel, or if it's something that you don't really think that you're going to use. I love hearing both sides of the argument, pro and against. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Is this going to be great? Are you going to be listening to podcasts on Facebook now? And one thing to note for those of you who do have pre-existing podcasts, it is very, very important to keep in mind whenever these platforms come out with new features, because they want people to use those new features. And therefore, now that this podcast option is out there, they're going to give anybody who pushes their content out on that platform a huge organic push. We saw it happening with Reels when Reels first rolled out. It's still kind of happening with Reels, but this is a brand new feature. So I highly suggest anybody who is here and has a podcast, try it out, and definitely DM me or comment below and let us know how it worked. If you saw a big push, if you saw a big reach, I would love to hear from you all. So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and we will catch you next week on Coffee Talk Tuesday. And if you missed this, you can check out our Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram pages and catch us on the replay. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Have a great week.